Okay. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, I'm Anvita and welcome to my channel. Today's video is gonna be about my January reads. I don't know if you guys saw my last video, but I'll link it here. Basically, I was on a self-imposed book buying ban from January, and so I didn't buy any books in January and try to read the physical books I have, even though I only ended up reading 4 of the books from my physical TBR. But anyways, so let's check it out. Here are some stats for the month of January. So in January, I read 12 books in total, which was 4,418 pages. My top 3 moods were emotional, lighthearted, and funny. And then my top 3 genres for January were romance, contemporary, and young adult. And then my average rating for January was 3.94, which is pretty good, I guess. And so here's the reading graph from Storygraph for the month of January, and you can clearly see the first 11 days of January I wasn't really reading. I was in a really big slump, which also seems to be the case for February, but we can get to that later. But yeah, so here were some stats. Now moving on to the books. But first, I just want to mention, if you guys haven't seen my post on my January wrap up yet on Instagram, I'm gonna link it above, but please check it out because there's this challenge called the number of challenge, and I created this like last year in April and forgot about it after a couple months, but then I brought it back again in January and hopefully stick through with it for all of 2022. So I would love it if you guys checked it out. In my caption you can see the details about the challenge and like what to do, and also how I've done it for January. Like you guys can create your own templates and do it, but I'll also be making some templates, so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, so the first book I read in January was Just Haven't Met You Yet by Sophie Cousins. This book is perfect for romance readers. I enjoyed it. Yeah, not much to say about it, to be honest. It was good. This book is basically about the main character picking up the wrong suitcase at the airport and trying to find love out of it and seeing what happens with that. I'd say this book had a good twist and it was overall easy to read. So if you are looking for an easy rom-com type book to read, I'd recommend this. The book's tagline is basically, could the wrong suitcase lead her to love? So I would recommend reading this book if you're looking for some romance vibes and would like to travel to Jersey. Yeah. So first book of January. The second book I read in January was actually finishing Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. Like, this book I started reading in September 2021, but then I moved to India from Dubai, and it's my sister's book, and she was staying in Dubai, so I had to leave it. And then I got the book back when my sister came home to visit us, and I got to finish the book. And I am so glad I did, because this book was amazing. I highly recommend everyone reading it. Like, this should be required reading, but also not, because I feel like you might enjoy it less if it was required reading. But you should pick this book up. Like, it was so good. The art style is so fun. Like, it's all black and white, and like it has like mini chapters in between. Like, this is one chapter. Yeah, so I would highly recommend reading this. Like, technically this has 2 books. Like, this is the 2 books in one, which is the story of a childhood and the story of a return. So there are also versions where the books are separate and it's like 2 volumes. So yeah, just letting you know that it's a really good book. I highly recommend reading it. Okay, the next book, which is what actually got me out of the slump, is Lexicon by Max Berry. This has been my all-time favorite book for the last, I don't even know how many years. Like, I read this either in 2013 or 2014 for the first time, and I've loved this book since. I've read this 5 times and I've lost like 3 of my copies. This one I found at a random Goodwill, and I obviously bought it because, you know, yeah, I love it so much. Like, can you see how much I've tapped it? But yeah, I love this book so much. It's so good. Like, I am not a big science fiction person, and this might be one of maybe 5 books that I've ever read that is science fiction, but it's so good. I don't even want to like tell you what it's about, because I just want you to go in blind, because that's how much more amazing it would be if you didn't know what you were getting into when you went to this book. But if you do want to know what this book is about, check out my post with a review on it, which is a very biased review on it, and mostly just me ranting about how much I love this book. But yeah, highly recommend reading this book. If you are a fan of science fiction, you should read this. But also, like, if you love language and like the power of language, and you know, the art of persuasion and things like that, like, so good. Like, I highly recommend reading it. So the 4th book I read was In a Holidaze by Christina Lauren. I've been wanting to read this book since 2020 and just never seemed to happen, and then December passed by again and I still hadn't read it, even though I was supposed to buddy read it with my friends. But even though it didn't happen, and it was technically January, I was still in like the holiday mood, you know, Christmas vibes and stuff. So I decided to read it, and it was so cute and I really enjoyed it. But I just have to say, like, I was rooting for the wrong guy the entire fucking time, and I'm so mad about that. Like, I feel like I was misled in the beginning chapters, but I still enjoyed it. Like, whatever happened, and like whoever the main character ended up with, it was still cute and nice. But I was just hoping for it to be different. It might not be that way for you. So if you do enjoy Groundhog Day vibes, if you enjoy Christmas in a cabin, you know, family, friends, vacation, you know, snow, things like that, and like Christmas traditions and stuff, I would highly recommend reading this book. It was really good, it was really fun. So since I was already in a romance mood because of In a Holidaze, the next book, the 4th book that I read in January, was Act Your Age, Eve Brown. I read Chloe Brown first in 2020, and as soon as that was over, I ended up reading Danny Brown's book too. I still think, even after reading Eve Brown, I still think Danny Brown was the best book for me. But Eve Brown was still good. Like, I did enjoy the banter, I enjoyed the guy, like, he was really hot, and you know. Anyways, the only issue I had with Eve Brown was one of the main tropes in it that led to the conflict, and that is something I don't really enjoy in books. So yeah, that was my only issue with it. But other than that, I enjoyed it. I loved the whole, you know, bed and breakfast vibes. I loved their banter, you know, everything was great otherwise in this book. So to continue on with finishing series finally, and you know, still reading romance, I ended up reading All the Feels by Olivia Dade, the 2nd book after Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. And I read Spoiler Alert mid last year, and I enjoyed it. It was fun. Like, it was fan fiction vibes and, like, you know, Comic-Con and things like that. So I really enjoyed it. And then All the Feels was great because I had already met these characters in Spoiler Alert, so I really wanted to check this one out. And it was good, but again, this also had the same trope that led to the conflict, like Eve Brown. That really pissed me off, basically. So yeah, I did enjoy it. It was good. It was romance. Anyways. Okay, so after All the Feels by Olivia Dade, I ended up reading Reminders of Him, Colleen Hoover. This is the moment when I got my Kindle Unlimited trial period. And so the next book I read was Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. And oh my god, it was so good. I gave it 5 stars. It literally, I didn't cry, but like, I could have, like, it was so good. I finished it in a day, and I was so sad, so heartbroken, but also like the things it made me feel, I I have no words. Like, it was so good. I don't even know what to say. If you are a Colleen Hoover fan, you will like this book. It will make you feel things. So go read it. That's all I have to say, literally. The next book I read was also a romance. It was called The Last Chance Books by Kelsey Rodkey. This was a very You've Got Mail vibe of book. Like, I did enjoy it. It was fun. At some points it did get a little over the top. Like, some things that the MCs did were pretty questionable, I guess, and they sometimes took it too far. But anyway, it was a little uncomfortable in that sense, but it was still fun. It was good. I like books that have like, I like books that are about books, I guess. So it was really fun, and like the whole working in a bookstore vibe, that kind of stuff was really fun to read about. So yeah, I liked it. And then I read When You Get the Chance by Emma Lord. And I love Emma Lord. I've read all her books. She has 3 books out now. I loved Tweet Cute. I loved You Have a Match. I loved When You Get the Chance. Like, it was so good. All 3, I think, just something about her writing is so comforting and nice to read about. Like, I loved her book. Like, all of them. Like, she's like one of my auto-buy authors now, and I'm just really excited to see what she comes up with next. Like, if you like YA, if you like romance, and if you like, I don't know, movie vibes, enemies to lovers, I would highly recommend checking her books out. Tweet Cute and When You Get the Chance is enemies to lovers, and You Have a Match is friends to lovers. And they all have, it's nice because it's not just all romance. There's also like the MC's life and like another goal that she's trying to make happen throughout the whole book. Like, she always has another goal. It's not just about the romance in the books. So I really like that. And yeah, so the next book after When You Get the Chance by Emma Lord I read was Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. This book, I look at how much I've tabbed it, but yeah, I was really scared to read this book. I've had it for months just because I know it like talks a lot about mental health and has like things that could be triggering. Yes, I would say like check the triggers, make sure you're in a good headspace to read it, but like, I have not felt this seen by a book ever before. Like, it was amazing. I loved it so much. It made me cry, it made me laugh, it made me feel so heartwarming and fuzzy. If you feel like you don't have life figured out and your plans are not going the way you want it to, I would highly recommend reading this book. Like, you will feel seen, you will maybe cry, and life will go on. Yeah, read this book. It was really good. I loved this book. 5 stars, of course. Yeah, I highly recommend reading this one. After this, I realized I still hadn't read anything on my Kindle Unlimited since Reminders of Him, and so I decided to branch out and read books in a genre I don't really read. So, I mean, I do read romance, obviously, but like, not the kind that I did. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is, so I tried to branch out and read more books that are available on Kindle Unlimited that I had heard of but I knew weren't my kinds of books. And so I read Twisted Love by Anna Huang, and I did enjoy it. I would say that it was a good read and it was an easy read, and I enjoyed it for the most of it. But like, I know still, even now, that like, that's not really a genre. Like, that type of romance books are not the kind I enjoy. I'm reading Twisted Games right now, the second book, just because I want to know what happens to the other characters. But I don't know if I will branch out to this type of romance books again. I did read Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas last year, and I also gave it 3 stars. Like, I did enjoy it, but like it also kind of wasn't my thing. So yeah, let's see if you guys have any recommendations for books like this that you think I might enjoy. Please let me know, because I would like to read more on Kindle Unlimited, and I don't know which books to read though. So yeah. Okay, so the last book that I read in January was Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. I hope I'm saying their name right. This book, I honestly think, obviously, besides Lexicon, this book I think was the best book of January. Like, holy shit, how did they come up with this? Like what? Like, it is middle grade. It is, a very short book, but like the amount of things it packs in its very tiny pages is insane. Like, it was such a good book. Like, I still can't imagine how the author came up with this. Like, they are amazing. Like, I did read The Death of Vivek Oji by the same author in 2020 and absolutely loved it. And this has like blown my mind. Like, I will literally read every book this author puts out, because wow, it was so good. Like, I will read the grocery list if I have to. It was so good. And I'm currently reading the prequel novella companion to Pet right now, and it is also so good. Like, I'm loving getting the insight on Bitter's life basically, and it is so well written. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't understand how they came up with this and how they managed to write this. Like, it's so good. I will say for sure, check the trigger warnings. Make sure you can, yeah, make sure to check the trigger warnings before reading it. But I would highly recommend reading it, because it's so good and it's so important. Like, the writing was amazing, but like also the story itself, the way it was created. Wow, this book was so good. Like, no words, literally no words. Yeah, so that's all for the January wrap up. I read 12 books in total, and I loved almost all of them. Like, none of them were like bad reads, like it was all 3 and above star ratings. Yeah, my favorite book, of course, is still Lexicon by Max Berry, and but very much loved Honey Girl and Pet, I think, the most out of the ones that I read for the first time. Yeah, Honey Girl and Pet, highly recommend. And also, it is Black History Month, so would recommend reading those two if you guys, have some space on your TBR right now. Yeah,